Hit the field, blast off, watch them all fall. This is AFC North talk. Got me hype, it's about to be a touchdown. Got the Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and the Browns. Are you listening? It's time to get it hype. Tune in when the season poppin'. Yeah, we going live. Hey, knock 'em out. Ay, first down, going hard. Yes, indeed. AFC North talk. Let's go. Hey, AFC North talk.
Welcome to another edition AFC North Talk presented by Manscaped, and here in the purple side is so good right now. How are you guys doing, guys?
It's crazy the difference a week make, huh? You know.
Look at that.
You in Cancun? Where are you at?
You got the chain out. Don't lose to Mitchell Trubisky now. You know, hey, it's funny though. Hey, the Ravens are gonna have 3 back-to-back games versus backups. Like,
3 in a row.
3 in a row. That's nuts. Talking about, I don't want to hear Ravens fans cry about injury luck no more because y'all have gotten it back in blood. All right, y'all got it. Y'all got it back.
Look. We're gonna be talking about the game, the showdown in the AFC North, but it was good. It's Sunday for me. For me, it was just chilling. But I was feeling this way, so I'll take this out for now. I was talking to Ace before the stream, and I said, look, not because of our division, but my criticism with college football is just too many blowouts. I don't know why. I feel like the NFL this year, and again, I'm not trolling right now for our teams. I know the teams in the North got quote unquote blown out, but it's not only in the North. It just happened, right? I know that there's 2 teams that were posers last year. We all knew it was the Giants and the Vikings, and this year they're being exposed left and right. The Vikings did win this week, but and the Giants, that game was hard to watch. I tried. I watched like a half, and it was just. But what do you guys think is happening? All this blowouts in the NFL. Do you attribute it to something? I can't seem to figure it out.
I think it's just the numbers. Like sometimes you just get a bunch of blowouts in the same weeks, and it's happening to happen now. Makes sense at the beginning of the year. A lot of the quarterback play has not been up to what it usually is too, right? We're not seeing Pat Mahomes at full tilt. We're not seeing, Aaron Rodgers at all. We're just like a bunch of guys who are in and out of injury consistently. And I think you just getting a lot of blowouts because one is just the way the numbers roll out. I don't really think there was like a rule change or anything that made it be like that. It's just, hey, week to week, the Browns blow somebody up, they get blown out the next week. Like it's been back and forth, even with the Browns, right? We blew out the Bengals, saw their backup, then got blown. Well, they didn't get blown out by the Steelers, just lost that game. But it felt like a blowout because you should have won, but it was just like you fumbled like 45 times in that game, and then you blow out Titans, and then the Titans turn around, blow out the Bengals. It's just one of them times in the NFL. It happens. It's like when we do this at the beginning of the year, every year, we're like, there's like a bunch of injuries in the first 2 weeks, and we're like, what's going on with the league? But all these injuries, but we have the same conversation every year. You know what I mean?
I agree with you. I think it comes down to the quarterback play. I mean, you look at the teams that were really blown out, with the exception of maybe the Dolphins. Most of it kind of tied to like quarterback play for the most part. You talk about the Browns starting DTR, as soon as you heard DTR was playing, you knew what time it was with that game. Joe Burrow, obviously being limited, that kind of affected them. You talk about the Steelers, Kenny Pickett ends up going out of that game. You talk about the Giants, Danny Dimes was never that guy. They should have never gave him that contract. So, when you kind of look at it from that perspective, I think a lot of it is just, sometimes when it comes to the quarterbacks, you need that quarterback to kind of win those games.
Yeah, I agree with both points. I think you look at just the landscape of the league, you're not seeing a lot of kick returns. You're not seeing a lot of necessarily pick sixes. You saw Devin Witherspoon. You're not seeing teams steal extra possessions. So it's forcing teams to actually have great schematics from the top to the bottom, have a good offensive coordinator, have a good defensive coordinator. And what we're not really appreciating is really the kicker and the punters because of the field position. So it's a different dynamic. I also think it's extremely early. We're in week 5. Teams, guys, they're trying to gel. Coaches are trying to figure out their identity. They're trying to establish a relationship with everybody. So it's extremely early. I wouldn't pump the brakes or be panicking just yet in terms of, fireworks, high potent offenses. The Dolphins game was enough.
Just dropped 70 2 weeks ago, and then
it's not going to happen every week. It might not happen the next 6 years.
And by the way, what Guru said, there's a poll right now. What team should panic? Steelers, Bengals, Browns. Is way too early. That's the poll right now. Looks like the Bengals is 65%, taking it a little bit. Steelers at 13, Browns at 5. Way too early. 17 is what we have it so far. Okay, let's go with some super chats. Brown really let Oakland get away with home invasion. Crazy. And speaking at home, can we get a neighborhood check on Mark Andrews? Hugh, how's that, Mark Andrews?
I mean, yeah, he did well after DTR gave him 2 short fields with like 3 bad interceptions. It was a nice game for him in those short moments. He made a nice catch there at the back of the end zone.
And the one touchdown wasn't a long. Well, we're gonna talk about. I don't want to deviate to the conversation Ravens Browns now.
Yeah, it was a corner route to the back of the end zone where Denzel tried to make the play and intercept it instead of trying to break it up. I think both the guys, Juan Thornhill and Denzel were there. They tried to go up for the ball instead of just trying to hit Mark Andrews, and they let him get that catch. So, bad technique, trying to be too greedy, trying to make a play happen. But that's what happens when you're down by 20.
I think Sam Laporta might have moved into the neighborhood, man, considering that he's leading all tight ends right now. I don't know.
Hey, man, might have to do a neighborhood check on Travis Kelce. Like, I'm just saying, that play was to him at the end of the game. He fell down. Pat bailed him out. That's not usually how that goes, but.
Rotchuck says, don't let Q off the hook. Watson shows not to play. He was shook. I wouldn't call a player, faking an injury.
Hey, Raven fans are the ones who can't do this. I'm sorry. You're the one fan base that has to shut the fuck up on this one, dog. Because we know how y'all were about Lamar's knee last year. So if you got any questions on if he could, nope, I don't want to hear it from you specifically, Raven fans. Y'all have no ground to stand on. Absolutely no ground to stand on in credibility here. That's
what happens, Q. When you play them, when you got injuries, it don't matter.
Yeah, it don't matter, right?
But when they play you when they got injuries, it don't count.
Yeah. They'll be like, we had injuries too. I know you didn't have Nick Chubb and your starting quarterback, but guess what? We didn't have Marcus Williams. Like, okay, that's not the same thing, but it is what it is.
It's not just Marcus Williams. It's not just.
You didn't have Ronnie. Okay, was it equivalent to not having your 2 best players on offense?
Okay, so first of all, wait.
They're counting them Jeff Driscoll wins.
Wait. You can give me the Watson. Obviously, your start quarterback was out. That's the biggest. The Chubb thing, right? We cannot. It's like me if Stanley was out for the year in week 1. If I just keep saying, "Well, we don't have Stanley, we don't have," at some point when I'm
not saying you don't have Chubb because you don't have Watson. Like once you don't have both of those guys and you're running out Jerome Ford and a rookie quarterback,
I got you. Like you can say we didn't have Watson. That for me is enough. I'm just saying the whole Chubb thing. At some point, you have to say, "Well, he's out for the year." We can't keep saying, "Well, we don't have Chubb, right?" Yeah,
but it still has an effect. If you don't have let's say the Ravens had Ray Lewis and Reed, right? Back in that day. If Ray Lewis got hurt for the year and somebody runs for 300 on you, you're going to be like, yeah, that would have happened if Ray were there.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say that? So it's like, how does it, like, the player matters not being there?
Well, no,
if in the context that I'm bringing it up in.
I got you. At some point during the season, right? Because you didn't lost him.
Yeah, if Watson were out there, I wouldn't be complaining about, hey, we don't have Nick Chubb because Watson's supposed to be good enough to overcome that. Nobody on the field was supposed to be good enough to overcome Nick Chubb being out. That's the main point there, right? Like when you don't have that, you can have one of your best 2 players, but if you don't have both of them, if Lamar and Mark Andrews aren't out there, are you really going to be tripping about any kind of offensive performance you get or don't get from the offense there?
No, and again, we'll
so
talk
that's
about
the point that I'm making.
Okay. I'm more upset. So this is Ray Rag says, I'm more upset with the Browns coaching for the during the week preparation that the in game because it looked like they thought there was no way that Watson wasn't going to play.
With all due respect, Ray Rags, I think there's a lot of hindsight 2020 in a lot of these evaluations. One, if you think your quarterback's going to play, you have to prepare as if your quarterback's going to play because that's what you want to happen. And then 2, what was he supposed to scheme up that was going to open guys up against this Ravens defense when the Browns have nobody out there that's going to stress them enough to break their rules on defense? Like, there's no Nick Chubb. He's not walking through that door. Deshaun Watson could not play. They're not breaking their tendencies or their rules because Jerome Ford's in the backfield. They're not doing that for DTR. You're talking about having a massive game plan change and then adding that on top of throwing a rookie quarterback out there who might not have thought he was coming into that game to play. So it's just what it's going to be. It looked bad. It was a horrible situation for that young player. You maybe if you throw a veteran quarterback in there, you lose by 18, but you still lose that game. I don't really think that there was a coaching adjustment that could have closed the gap or even made DTR look livable. I mean, look what that Ravens defense did to CJ Stroud in his first game, and he was prepared for that. So that's just what it's going to be. That's a rookie's first game. That's always going to be a tough go, especially when you're playing in division versus a Baltimore Ravens team. I mean, I find it I don't think that there's nothing to criticize Kevin on, but the idea that, Kevin should have had them ready to go and be competitive versus the Ravens without their starting quarterback, and then you're missing other pieces on offense as well to go on top of that, I think that's too much to ask for. I don't know what offensive coordinator would have cooked up anything during that kind of a situation.
I know you're going to talk about it later, Q. I just want to add, like, was it a situation where Watson went out like pre-game and they were like, "Oh, he just can't go"?
Friday.
Like,
on Friday it broke, right, Q? On Friday it broke that.
Oh, here's how the week broke down, right? Tuesday he didn't throw. That's kind of normal. Like sometimes they just rest players on Tuesday. Yeah. Wednesday he came back through. Thursday he threw for like 2 plays, could not throw anymore. Decided he could not throw anymore. So they took him out for practice that day, and then he became questionable on the injury report after that. Then Friday, Saturday happened. We get to Sunday, and he does his warm-ups, and he decides he cannot play. He cannot go out there.
Yeah, so
now
he tried to try and warm-ups before the game, and then decided that he couldn't go. Kind of like Travis Kelce that first week for the Chiefs.
Yeah, it was a game time decision, and he felt like he couldn't play at a high enough level to help the team. I think it was a bit of an overestimate on DTR and an underestimate on himself, to be honest with you, that led to that. But we'll see if this thing lingers. Like, I think the bye week kind of like makes this more of a mystery because we're not going to be able to see if he's practicing this week, right? We're going to have to wait for next week to see if he's practicing. But yeah, I mean, this is something that's going to go in the weird Deshaun Watson pile. It's not something that's squeaky clean. Nothing weird happened about it. It goes into the weird Deshaun Watson pile. But if something like this pops up again and it goes that way again, then it's going to become something. But as of right now, you just got to kind of play it as it is.
It's Austin says Sonny with the Sanders shades. GG, Sonny.
Those the Deion ones?
I don't know. It says the Deion ones. I can't remember what Deion has right now. LJ going for his
Deion Sanders, another old ass Raven.
Hey, he retired for 3 years and he came back to play for the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
LJ going for his second MVP versus best historic defense. Yeah, we'll talk about that soon. Serious
14 points on true drives.
If the Bengals go 1-4, would it be time to panic?
I mean, I think so. Because if you lose to the Arizona Cardinals, dog, yeah, it's time to hit the panic button, dog. If you lose to Josh Dobbs with Joe Burrow, I mean,
with stuff on the line,
I would definitely say it would be time to panic if you lose to Josh Dobbs, for sure.
Noah still here says Watson too scared to play versus Ravens and Roquan.
Wonder what Nova Stone was saying last week during week 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and a wild card. Would love to dig those tweets back up. What did you?
Lamar was never medically clear last year. Watson was. He chose not to go out there.
He was medically cleared.
Shout out to Joey. Who's Joey?
He was medically cleared.
Lamar wasn't, but was Watson clear? I don't think Watson basically was. My understanding, similar to you, was they said like
physically they said he wasn't. There was nothing wrong, but he said he felt something that was wrong there.
To be fair, let me take this out for a moment. To be fair, if you're a Browns fan, right, and if he's really struggling to throw because it's painful, You want him to take the week off. I mean, it sucks that it's in the division game, but the bye week that gives him 2 weeks with only missing one game. It's almost like you take a loss, right? You didn't hope for a loss, but you take that loss hoping that it's so early in the year that he can heal as much as he can in 2 weeks, and hopefully he can come back for the Niners or after the Niners.
Yeah, we'll see.
Ravens Nations here says it's funny how I always hear about how great Miles Garrett is, and I'm still waiting for him to do anything relevant at all against us in his career. He was playing good. He was playing good.
And you get a win, you just start telling lies. like what? He had a sack. He beat like a triple team. Okay, like let's tell lies now.
I think he had 2 sacks, right? Did he have
Yeah. I think he had at least 1.5. But hey man, he wasn't doing shit, right? Like 6-3 and outs to start the game, but the defense wasn't doing a damn thing. Yeah, we know what happened. Why are we acting like we didn't know what happened in that game?
We'll go into it soon, but I'm not gonna.
They want that win so bad. It's like, come on, you don't got to lie about what happened. We all watched it.
Mark here says, I'm not gonna glow too much. The Browns will be fine, but Q needs to fill out.
Hey, show me the Roquan Smith highlight from this game. I saw 2 dropped interceptions that went right in his lap.
No,
show me the Roquan Smith highlight.
They weren't in his lap. He reacted.
They were right there in his lap. If he were faster, he would be there. If it were Logan Wilson, it would have been 6 interceptions.
I just saw a guy that you said they cannot cover, had 2 PBUs, at least 2 PBUs, maybe more, and his normal stuff in the back, and all the tackles for us and all the other stuff.
All that stuff you can't bring up no highlights for. That's cool.
We can't put highlights here. I'm just told you.
I've been asking for 8 months for some Roquan Smith highlights to my mentions, and nobody has produced it. That's all I'm saying.
If you did not see the PBUs and all the tackles, then it's okay. Abdul here says these boys salty. And then we get Trey Henderson has 4 sacks in 5 games against us, and Myles Garrett has 6 sacks in 10. And if he's a great as
he's played 10 games against the Baltimore Ravens. Wait. He's played 10 games versus the Baltimore Ravens? Because I don't think that's accurate. But no, I mean, he's played like 7.
But he's been in the league for 10 seems normal.
Yeah, if you just say he played in every single one of those games, but he didn't play in every single one.
I know when I did the stat about him versus Lamar, he's only faced Lamar in 6 games. So unless you guys have played the Browns, Lamar,
he has played us without Lamar, right?
But also he had the 6-week suspension when he smacked Mason Rudolph in the head with the helmet. That definitely was a missed Ravens game. Like he also had the injuries last year, the COVID stuff in 2020. Like, let's be real. But hey, man, the lies sound good when you win.
Havitro says the number 1 defense didn't look like a number 1 defense on Sunday. Lamar taking care of the division. Constellation Price Q, you're the only team that has a win over AFC South team. Watson not built for the North. And last super chat here, Ray Rack says, no joke, Ace. I had no clue the next game was against the Cardinals. I just went going 1-4. Be bad, I didn't. Oh, my bad, I guess. I didn't know it will mean they lose to Arizona.
Nah, I'm good, brother.
Okay.
You don't think it's going to be a James Conner revenge game?
Hey, the way we giving up these rush yards, it could be.
Let's talk about the Steelers. Let's start with the Steelers. Let's shift the attention of Baltimore and the Browns. Let's talk about the Steelers. Guru, I was watching this game, right? And it was ugly. It was ugly in all facets. Like, I was expecting more about this defense. And the offense play about what we have been expecting about the offense, right? Kenny Pickett gets injured. Obviously, we don't wish ill on anybody. But it wasn't like Trubisky came. It wasn't different, right? Sometimes a backup quarterback comes. They haven't practiced with the first team and whatever. But I don't know what to do with this offense. The Texas defense is better than people think. We played them already, and D'Amico definitely schemes some stuff up. He was pressuring Lamar. They definitely better than people give them credit. I will say that. On offense, they had look a little bit better, but I was hoping, a Mike Tomlin team against a rookie QB, similar to what Harbaugh has record-wise, right? They usually eat them up. Steelers defense, full of savvy veterans. I was expecting a little bit more against that rookie QB, and then Stout played again. And I'll be the first one to admit that I was not a biggest fan of Stout coming out of the draft. He played really good against the Steelers. What do you think happened? Especially, I don't want to beat up a dead horse on the offensive side. You can comment on that too, but I want to know on the defensive side, what happened in the defense that they allowed Stout to move the ball? And then the running side too, they had success running the ball. What do you think happened?
Yeah, we broke down the game. Pretty sure everybody picked the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
What happened Sunday at 1:00, in my opinion, after rewatching the game a couple of times, was just a team that got outcoached, a team that actually had a home game and embodied their crowd, their coach, their new coach, and most of all, man, they just were a better team that day. The Houston Texans, the National Football League, what it has showed me is that the parity level is closer than the average casual, right? If you look at the parity and you look at what teams are doing in terms of schematics, in terms of young premier talent, teams are improving. And if you didn't think that the Houston Texans had guys or a scheme that was adapted to this new NFL, you saw that on Sunday. The Pittsburgh Steelers, in my opinion, Sonny, they have a coaching problem. Mm-hmm. And when you look at a coaching problem,
like a head coaching problem, or
when you look at a coaching problem, you start at the top. But when you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and you understand there's three coaches, and you understand that this isn't your mom and pops, this is a different organization, you understand that the channels and the buttons that have been pressed. And I just want to show you that there was a winners meeting when Mike Tomlin sat down in front of the media. There was a meeting prior to the draft with Andy Weidel and Omar Khan being introduced as the inaugural GM, where Mike Tomlin had the opportunity to say Matt Canada wasn't the guy. Instead, he endorsed for him. He stood by him. And the Steelers in a position right now, no matter who you play. You can go to Alaska. You go to your local Boys and Girls Club. Since 2021, the Steelers, their first quarter offense ranks number 31 in yardage and number 31 in points scored. Out of 26 first half drives on the season, the Steelers have been in the red zone on that personal drive once. They've made the red zone out of those 31 drive once in the red zone. They've been in the red zone 4 times this season. In the Houston Texans in week 4, you've been in the red zone 4 times. 61.1% of the Steelers set of downs have reached third down, meaning that every time you go on the field, it's a third down. That's the highest rate in the National Football League. You have a higher chance of getting 3 and out for the Pittsburgh Steelers than playing the National Lottery. So when I tell you these statistics, when I provide to you the analogy of the new NFL, your head coach has to adapt. I want to address to you a 4th and 1. A 4th and 1 play call versus the Houston Texans. You have some momentum, and you literally got to get 1 yard. You know the cliche in the National Football League. If you can't get 1 yard, you don't have an opportunity or deserve an opportunity to win. You go shotgun. Instead of running the football with Najee Harris, who was literally, you feel running backs get that cohesion, that mojo, keep feeding them. Never gave him the ball. Instead, it's a shotgun. Kenny Pickett bails out the pocket, doesn't go to his progressions, and has a knee bruise because the right end basically meets him outside of the escape point. The Steelers right now have no offense. They have no offensive identity, and they have no direction. Mike Tomlin enters the press conference today and says that after the game, he goes, there's, hell yeah, there's going to be changes made verbatim. The changes today, fellas, is wearing pads in practice. So the offense right now, it's Mike Tomlin centric. I put him at the hierarchy of it because if you're Mike Tomlin, if you're a Hall of Fame coach, if you never had a losing season, you should know when to call a timeout, audible all the stuff, tell your offensive coordinator, let's run a traditional pro-style one-read offense that make Kenny Pickett very, very satisfactory. You saw Daniel Jones. He couldn't run a one-read offense. That was a one-read offense you saw Monday night. I think Kenny Pickett can run that. The defense, you talked about it, Sonny, unacceptable. Unacceptable. Damian Pierce, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, they're fantasy darlings today. I'm sure you're on a waiver picking those guys up because of the performance they had. The Pittsburgh Steelers run defense against those teams is good score. Mike Tomlin seems to tweak, giving reps to the rookies and Sonny, Joey Porter Jr., Keanu Benton. They're higher on the depth chart. But at the end of the day, the offense could get the criticism. Matt Canada get the criticism. When the franchise quarterback starts playing like a franchise quarterback, the Pittsburgh Steelers have enough. When the defense is on the field, predominantly, the defense, no matter who it is, if it's the highest paid, they're going to get tired. The offense has to step up. You have to give the defense 11 plays. Even if you go 11 plays 3 and out, the defense is getting rested. We'll talk about the Ravens game, but the Pittsburgh Steelers have a coaching problem. When they can start game planning, when they can start going to the locker room and adjusting to a 5-man front or a team running a quick screen game with Landon Roberts checking Dalton Schultz or Landon Roberts checking Tank Dell, you're going to keep getting gashed. The Cincinnati Bengals, the Baltimore Ravens, the Cleveland Browns, doesn't matter the opponent. You have to adapt to coaching in a new National Football League.
Yeah, I think one thing them Tomlin does have that Harbaugh also has is they're very loyal to their coordinators. They don't like to fire them. They give them chances. I mean, we did it with Giro. We've done it with a lot of the coordinators. And I think Tomlin has similar traits that he doesn't, overreact. But at this point, in the case with Canada, there's plenty of sample, right? It's not like it was a game here or there. It's plenty of sample. Okay, Ace. This game, and again, hard to watch. What do you thought?
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I actually did think the Texans had a chance because C.J. Stroud was really good. But I thought the fact that the offensive line was out was just going to play into the Steelers' hands. Like Guru is saying, if you've been paying attention to C.J. Stroud, he's a good player. I said on the last show, he's been on a historic pace this season. When it comes to the Houston Texans, I think like Guru is saying, they're not a bad team. They've got a quarterback that's a guy of the future, looking like the rookie of the year right now. Hasn't thrown an interception, I believe, yet. Has really had a whole bunch of 300-yard games, including against some really good teams. They've been in these games against these teams. It's not like, I think with the exception of one game, they may have been blown out. This is a competitive football team, and they have a good head coach, former NFL player. That's going to help their defense out a lot, right? When you have a great mind, that is the Houston Texans head coach. He's a defensive-minded head coach, and he's got a guy in C.J. Stroud that can lead the offense. One of the things that I saw in this game and leading up to the game, which shows the signs of a leader, is C.J. Stroud kind of was vocal about everybody writing them off before this game happened. And he was like, we've got something that we can do too. Even though, like Guru was saying, majority of the Steelers fans showed up after the games, he's saying stuff like, we sent them home and stuff like that. That is a leader. And C.J. Stroud, if you haven't been watching him, he's been impressive. Like Guru is saying, though, we've all have seen the Matt Canada offense and his vice grip on the Pittsburgh Steelers and what it's done to them. And they've been able to get away in the past with, fumbles and sack fumbles and stuff like that, defensive touchdowns. They weren't able to get that in this game because C.J. Stroud was playing very well. And as Guru pointed out, the run defense was not there for them. It really just didn't show up in this game. And a lot of people forget about Dameon Pierce. If you watched him last year, he was a really good player as well. Nico Collins kind of surprised me, not going to lie. Like I watched Nico Collins a few years ago. I knew he was solid. I expected Tank Dell to kind of have that game that he had. But, that just speaks to what they have brewing, I think, in Houston. And for this to be a team that lost Deshaun Watson, they were kind of looking for a quarterback to replace them. They clearly have it in this kid, C.J. Stroud. And I've seen it myself, especially having Joe Burrow. When you have a quarterback that's good, a young, good quarterback that's good, you're going to be in every game. You're going to, you might not win every game, but you're going to be competitive and you will be in those games. And I think C.J. Stroud definitely took steps here. But I think the elephant in the room has always been Matt Canada. Will they move on from him? It's a tough situation because, I find myself in a similar situation. However, my head coach is the play caller, so you can't remove him. But I've been in situations with bad Bengals teams that have had bad coordinators. And sometimes teams don't want to pull the trigger if it's not close to a bye week because they don't have time to change the offense per se. You can fire the guy, but you can't change what the offense is. You might be able to have some different play calls or call some different plays or have a different flow of the game. But as it stands right now, the offense is what it is until the Steelers can get to the bye. But I do think, like Guru is saying, Mike Tomlin, if you are the head coach and you're saying that there's going to be changes, it has to be more than just putting some pads on, dog. Like, that's not enough. That's not enough.
That's not enough. That's a change.
Yeah, you got to do something more than that. Kenny Pickett going down in this game is tough for them, right? Because he's now going to be potentially out. I know he may play depending on the pain tolerance with the bruised knee, but that is the last thing that this Steelers team really needed because you already have a struggling offense. Now you're bringing in another backup quarterback who doesn't have chemistry with the guys there. It's honestly a mess on offense. The defense, though, they kind of didn't hold up their end of the bargain in this game either. I expected them to completely dominate that Houston Texans offensive line. I just look at it now. I don't know if you can go off of like people's trenches because the Bengals, and I've seen this with the Steelers game, there's been games where starters have been out and the offensive lines, the backups have played better than some of the starters. Like it just. Right. It's a weird thing going on right now. It's a tough loss for the Steelers because the spread was what it was. But I do think that the Texans are an up and coming team. I'm not going to say that they've arrived yet, but they're definitely going to be a threat in the AFC South with CJ Stroud.
Q. Can you talk
from the elliptical? Yeah, I got you. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. Before I get started on here, I think this game, one, I just want to say it's interesting how different the Steelers defense looks when they don't get +2, +3 in the turnover margin. When they don't get points off turnovers, it starts to look a little bit different. Not saying they're not a good defense, but, it might have inflated what that defense was doing. The second thing is that CJ Stroud's the real deal. And I don't know how so many people were willing to miss that during the draft process. Like
Panthers.
Mm-hmm. And it was like, why did I hear about CJ Stroud's C2 scores? Like nobody cares about that, right? Like you didn't even know that replaced at the Wonderlic, but we're hearing about his C2 scores. We're hearing about, he didn't show up to the Peyton Manning Passing Academy is the reasons why he shouldn't be the number 1 overall pick. But what we didn't hear about? That game versus Georgia. That was the game that convinced me CJ Stroud is going to be a guy in the NFL. He's going to be Justin Herbert or something like that because the dude balls. It does not matter if he gets pressure. And look, to his credit, he got all that pressure early in the preseason. It didn't look good. He got all that pressure early in this season. It did not look good. But he's learned to adjust. Mm-hmm. He's learned to process. He's calm. He's doing stuff. He's finding stuff in the middle of the field right now. I mean, he's playing at a high level. He has so much talent, so much arm strength, so much ball placement ability, and he really took advantage of a Steelers defense that was going to be aggressive. They had a game plan of we wanted to pressure the young quarterback and see what he could do with it, and he beat the pressure. Like that's just CJ Stroud winning the game from the quarterback position because he was better than I think anybody expected him to be in this one. We all thought this would be a Tomlin game. This was not a Tomlin game. As far as the Steelers offense stuff goes, it's looked like that for a while, dog. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's the problem. It's like it's been like this under Finkner. It's been like this under Canada.
It was better under Finkner.
It was slightly better under Finkner, but you also you had the remnants of Ben one year, but it was better with Ben under Canada that second year. So it's just it's the same fundamental problems. Not good on third down, not good getting off the field. Well, not good extending drives, not very explosive, sometimes very predictable what you like to do on third down. It's the same stuff. It's been a problem. And look, quarterback play could solve it, sure, but I don't think Kenny Pickett or Mitchell Trubisky is going to be the guy that's going to fix that. And I think the Steelers just need to go back to the drawing board with this whole offense. I think they made some decisions that they wish they could take back. I don't think that Najee Harris is the draft pick they would have went with if they could go back and make another pick. It's kind of a mess on that side of the ball. They have a couple of good pieces. I think Moof and George Pickens are fine pieces, but I also think we have to accept that George Pickens has his limitations, right? He's not the all-around Jamar Chase beater that people were hyping him up to be in the preseason, or at least he hasn't been that so far. We'll see what he turns into, but I think he's a guy who's going to be able to get you some 9s, get you some 7s, get you some 8s, but he's not going to be a 5. He's not going to be able to get you a 5. I'm talking about the route tree if you don't know what I'm saying, the numbers for. So, it's just that's kind of what the offense has been. Kenny Pickett, no Kenny Pickett, and defensively, that's kind of what it's been. The Steelers are a good team. They're not a great team, and they can have bad days, and this was a bad day for them.
Now, I just want to just say that I gotta just respectfully disagree with the George Pickens comment. If you look at the Calvin Austin routes, George Pickens, and even not even routes when Kenny is throwing or targeting Calvin Austin, I want you to look at what defenses are doing to George Pickens with Deontay Johnson or IR. You get 3, 4, 2, 3 guys over top. Underneath, you have a linebacker hitting them underneath while he's running. I'm not making excuses for that. What I'm saying is that defenses, no matter what the casual fan might agree with, defenses are covering or scheming against George as a number one receiver. Mm-hmm. And when you're already a quarterback that's struggling with confidence or struggling with rhythm, you can't afford to throw the football in triple coverage because you want to get George acclimated. Calvin Austin, Allen Robinson, Pat Freiermuth, the underneath options have to win one-on-one matchups to get George Pickens open until Deontay Johnson gets back. Because he's the only guy that can win, from the top of the release, from the top of the route, yak, quick slither, quick twitch type of guy on the team.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair assessment for where George Pickens is right now. My whole point was people were making the point that George was going to be a bracket buster. You know what I mean? Like that level of wide receiver. And they're going to bracket him. He's the best wide receiver that the Steelers have, and they don't really have many other offensive options that scare you. So
as a Bengals fan, we gotta stop with the Jamar Chase comparisons, man. I don't even know if George Pickens is on T. Higgins level.
Jamar Chase is always open. 88.
Jamar Chase is a top 5 NFL receiver. I think George Pickens is good, by the way. Right. But whenever you bring up Jamar Chase, you're talking about a guy that might be a top 3 receiver in the NFL.
Hey.
No, absolutely. It's just tough to even gauge or could estimate the kid's ceiling because of the scheme. The scheme is vanilla. Steven Nelson played for the Steelers. You don't think he knew the technique with Calvin Austin or that formation because of the familiarity, because of the Fickner, because of the organic relationship in terms of tendencies, in terms of what can I diagnose pre-snap? It hasn't changed. So if I gave the Bengals a Zach Taylor, a T. Higgins, and replace him with George Pickens, I might get the same production. I can't say that George Pickens is better than T. Higgins or Jamar Chase on any metric, but can we get an OC to at least, like Q said, get him running more than 3 routes?
Yeah, no, I agree.
The only last thing I will say about this game is my biggest.
They run they run the 989 route tree with him, don't they?
Like we the TCU Steelers, like we run 3 routes. Like, what are we doing?
So the last thing I did want to say was, and particularly for this game, the fact I picked the Steelers, and my biggest, similar to what Ace said, my biggest thing was no Tunsil. Right tackles in the third string right tackle. You would have thought those 2 specifically. I think that's what I said in the preview game. They were gonna eat, and then even if the offense could have played, the pressure would have been too much. Rushing 5, and I said, like, if they can have constant pressure rushing 5, they should be fine. But I mean, shout out to the Texans. They had a good game.
Shout out to CJ Stroud because like that didn't razzle him. They got pressure on him very quickly. He was stepping up. I mean, he looked like a vet out there.
He did. He definitely did. Okay, so let's go with some super chats here. Morrow, the Wizard says, how can no one is talking about Lamar's replacement this year except Cowher in the media.
People are talking about it.
Yeah. Abdul here says Mark Most the S out award.
Denzel let him get the head top. It didn't look good.
Ravens outscored the rest of the AFC North 28-12. Yeah, it wasn't great for the AFC North. Only the Ray Rex here says, Guru, I'm not sure Pickett is or will ever be the guy, but it really is hard to get a great evaluation of him with Canada being the OC.
Same argument, right? With Pickens.
Yep. Ace says Jamar's always effing open.
Of course, man. It's Jamar Chase.
Noah here says we have.
Do you think he's more frustrated with himself or the offense?
No, I mean, you guys know I be tapped in, so he's kind of frustrated with the predictability, and then of course, like if you have a player Jamar Chase, you got to use him. I mean, that was they just went from giving him 15 targets the week before to not really going to him at all.
Because I saw people trying to act like that was about Joe Burrow. I'm like, that's definitely about one.
No, there's no way Joe and Jamar are like this. So if you're hearing that, then it's pretty clear. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out who he's kind of aiming those comments towards. So
Noah with his chest too. He was
Noah Stone says we have a new scrappy Lions, the scrappy Cardinal. That's fair.
They are a scrappy bunch.
Yeah, they are. They are. Q was right about the MJ versus TJ debate.
We're not going to decide this in 1 week of football. Let's not do it. I don't want to do it again. I don't want to. We good, bro. We good. Don't do this.
Ravens Nation here says Myles Garrett has played 11 games against us. 1-17, 2-18, 1-19, 2-20, 2-21, 2-22, 1-23, and he has 7 sacks against us in 11 games.
That's not bad.
That's not a bad number.
That's not bad.
And Mark here says, would the Steelers be better with Greg Roman right?
Sure, baby.
Okay, that being said, a couple of things. Shout out to our Patreon supporters Adam Holland, Duncan Zula, Luis Cousin, Leo Sell, Ray Rack, Wesley Worrell, and Christian Rob. Thank you for supporting us and what we do. And let's talk about our sponsor, Manscaped. Fresh Ball fall is upon us, and you need to be in the festival spirit. Light a candle, get some pumpkin spice, and make sure your balls look nice with the sponsor of today's show, Manscaped. Nature may clear the leaves of their trees, but you'll need Manscaped to help to get you ready for that sweater weather. Get your pins, puppies, prepare for cuffing season with a trim as refreshed as a fall breeze by going to manscaped.com using our promo code AFC North Talk for 20% plus free shipping. It is time for a nice flannels and cozy socks, but we can't forget to trim our balls. By now, you've heard of them, but it's time to join the 9 million men worldwide using Manscaped and get the kit that covers it all. The Performance Package 4.0. It starts with the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, which works amazing, with advanced skin-safe technology that reduces nicks and cuts to make raking the leaves a lot less painful. Plus, the lawnmower is a technical masterpiece. It has a 7,000 RPM motor, a multifunction on and off switch that can engage a travel lock, and a built-in 4,000K LED spotlight to help you see parts of your body you haven't looked at in years. Once you've cleared the driveway, the Performance Package comes in hot with products to cool, prevent stink, and one to clear it up. With a smoothing aloe vera formula, move over pumpkin spice fresh balls are smell of the season. The Performance Package 4.0 caps it off with 2 free gifts. The Manscaped Boxers, which they're amazing. We all talk about the boxers. They're amazing. And the Shed Travel Bag. That's one to hold your Manscaped goodies and one to hold your man goodies. Bring in the fall and get 20% and free shipping with the code AFC North Tuck in manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the promo code AFC North Tuck as the leaves fall. Make sure you have it all with Manscaped. Shout out to them for sponsoring the show, for believing in the product here. Before we go to the Bengals game, 2 more super chats here. Am I giving Zach till the Seahawks game with his play calling? If nothing changed, time to give it, Brian.
Yeah, nah, I'm not giving Zach another game, man. We'll talk about this coming up, but yeah, I'm not giving them to the Seahawks game, dog.
Should I bench?
The plays that they call it at the times that they call it them, or is it the plays that's in the sheet to begin with?
Oh, we will get into it for sure. We will get into it.
Joe here says, should I bench Burrow from Goff this week?
That's nasty. That's just gross.
I mean, if you have a guy with a calf strain that could potentially re-aggravate it at any time, I'm always going to start the player that doesn't have an injury risk.
What does this play?
What?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the Lions are a bad offense.
Yeah, I
don't know who the Lions are playing this week, but
let me see.
Let's see, the Lions are playing the Panthers. Yeah, come on.
Oh yeah.
If anybody's playing the Panthers, you're starting them.
If Burrow,
I'm gonna ride St. Round alone. You know what I mean?
Go ahead, Guru.
No, if Burrow was healthy, I would have took him.
Yeah, agree. Okay, let's talk about the Bengals, right? The Bengals. Look, we all pick the Steelers. We all pick the Bengals.
Yeah.
The Bengals. We look. The only thing I thought it could break this game for the Bengals was the front of Tennessee. Front of Tennessee, to be fair, they came to play. They were pressuring Burrow, and I think more and more teams they were pressuring with 4 and 5. So it wasn't like they were blitzing. I mean, they did blitz.
No, they were blitzing.
Yeah, but I guess my point is, or what I was gonna say, as moving forward, the Bengals have to expect that this is what teams are gonna do with a quarterback that it cannot. It's not that he cannot move, but it might. He's probably, or what I've seen from Burrow, he is. What's the word I want to use? Like he is contempt of running away because
he's
again,
a statue. He's a statue.
Yeah,
he doesn't.
Yeah, he doesn't want to move a lot because obviously the calf, right? So he's trying to protect that calf. So teams obviously is gonna be like, let's just try to pressure as much as they can, and if Joe Burrow can beat it with that, and that's what you see a lot of short passes, right? You see the Bengals going more and more to short passes. Chase got the ball again, and I know that you said that he got 14 targets the week before. I know he got 7 catches this week. I don't know how many targets he ended up having. And he did see frustrated, and I don't know if he has addressed it after that.
Well, I mean, so the thing is, of course, like this is a clickbait society that we live in, so they're gonna cut it off before he's like explaining what he's saying. So he wasn't exactly going at Zach Taylor, like he kind of was, but not really. He was kind of just saying like, I'm always open. So it wasn't like, they're not throwing me the ball, I'm always open.
Yeah, no, and I guess what I was gonna say is similar to the Steelers. Now, I know it's different because you had Joe Burrow, but when the quarterback is injured, you're looking at the other side, right? And you're talking about not going against a great offense. If you're going against a great offense, you're like, well, my defense, it is what it is, and the offense is not helping, whatever. But Tennessee has struggled this year. Going to this game, they had DeAndre Hopkins, where they're being the best receiver so far for them, and Henry having a subpar season for Henry standards, and they looked like they were able to move the ball, running the ball, passing for Tannehill. It was great for Tannehill standards. And the Henry, work against us and work against you. Henry gets it once a year. Feels like the fake rush to throw to the back of the end zone for a touchdown. What do you think was the problem? Not necessarily on the offense. I do want to hear the offensive problems too, but on the defensive side, what was it that the defense couldn't stop the Titans?
I still think it ties into the offense. Like From a defensive perspective, I think there's definitely communication issues, right? There were a lot of blown plays there with the secondary, more specifically. There were a lot of things that I hadn't seen the first 3 weeks from the Bengals in this game. There were blown coverages, guys running wide open, and it just didn't seem like they had an answer for it. The thing that I have seen the first 3 weeks, and including this week, was the lack of run defense. The Bengals' run defense has just been completely horrible this season. This went from being one of their strengths last year to completely being something that they have just been abysmal at this season. The other thing in this game, missed tackles. I can't count how many missed tackles there were in this game. There was at one point a guy fumbled in the backfield on like 3rd and long, picks it up, and is still able to run for a first down. It was just some of the most ridiculous stuff that I've seen from this team. They were able to get an interception on Ryan Tannehill, but in the second quarter, they let them score 21 points. So they went out in the first half, held them to 3 in that quarter. We're talking about a 3-3 game. Offense isn't giving them anything, and that's been the story for the defense for the most part this season. I'm not excusing the defense, but the defense has had to play the majority of these games every single week, it seemed like. This is the second time that this team has scored 3 points. They scored 3 points on the first drive of this game. There was a drive where the defense was on the field in the second half for 10 minutes. They came out, the offense went out, got another 3 and out. The defense is back on the field. The defense, though, for me, they were able to get pressure, so I can't say that they didn't get pressure because they ended this game with 3 sacks. I just thought, similar to the Texans and Steelers game, that the Bengals would be able to take advantage of bad left tackle play. We're talking about the left tackle that they had there that had given up 6 sacks. I think he still gave up a sack in this one, but they also had an injury with Peter Skoronski out at left guard. They just didn't seem like they were able to really do that. And generally, historically, when we play the Titans, they generally lean on the run with Derrick Henry. And I feel like early on in this one, they actually leaned more on Tannehill being able to find guys open in space. Westbrook was a guy that they were able to find. But the defense, there's just no excuse for that. They needed to come out there with more flair, more creativity, more pressure on Ryan Tannehill. They had to try to generate turnovers. I know the offense wasn't giving them much, but the way that Ryan Tannehill was playing out there, that was not on my bingo card. I mean, we kind of talked about it. I said that Ryan Tannehill had a worse QBR than Joe Burrow coming into that game. They did not defend him like that. We talk about the Henry play. Everyone saw that play was about to happen. The Bengals saw that it was about to happen. They called timeout, and then they still allowed it to happen in the game whatsoever. But for me, one of the biggest issues with this team, and there's a lot of people out there, Joe Burrow and the calf and this and that. I don't blame stuff on injuries. But when you see a team do this to you, where they are playing this front on you in the red zone, where you are supposed to be running, and they're just begging you to run, and they're leaving open gaps like this, this has to do with play calling and play scheming and things like that. Joe Burrow's going to have to be out there. The calf is what it is. This is not a situation that you can put Joe Burrow in. When it comes to him having this calf injury and teams giving you light boxes 80% of the time, why are you passing the ball, Zach Taylor? Why are you passing the ball? And here's the crazier thing. The Bengals come out. I will give Zach some kudos on his opening script. The opening script was amazing. They came down the field. They were able to spread them out. They were able to get Mixon some runs against the number 1 defensive rushing team in the league. And then they got down there, and this is after they took the ball. And instead of going for it on 4th down, they decided to take the field goal. Because they were not aggressive, that set the tone for the entire game. This was a game where Mixon was averaging 4.5, 5 yards per carry. He was eating them up. And Zach Taylor has done this in every single game. Even if they have success on the ground, he will not run the ball. And this has not been something new with Zach Taylor. This has gone all the way back to 2019 when he took over. He does not like to run the ball. Joe Burrow can be out there as a statue with teams like the Browns, jamming the receivers at the lines because they know that All you have is 3 seconds to get the first readout. And if it's not there, you're just going to be a statue in the pocket. The offense has been too predictable with Joe with this injury. Having him sit back there, teams are just going to send rushers. They're just going to send blitzes. And that's what I had to tip my cap off to the Titans coaching staff. That's what they did. And if you're predictable, I'm not asking Zach Taylor to be Andy Reid. I'm not asking him to be a top 10, top 15 guy. If you watch me on this channel, you know that I've always talked about Zach Taylor, whether it was when we were winning and going to AFC championships or not. He's not a creative person when it comes to play calling. But this is just inexcusable for them to have a team that was one of the top offenses in the NFL completely fall off of the planet. They are the 32nd ranked offense in NFL right now. This team from a year ago. The difference is, yes, but Joe Burrow has the calf, but as a staff, you have to game plan. Like, this is not Joe Burrow from last year. You can't do that. You see that he can't extend the plays. You see how teams are playing them. You see that teams are clouding Jamar Chase. You see that teams know that you're running the 9-8-9. They know that you're going to run the Tyler Boyd option route. They know that you're too predictable. And if you're predictable, it's going to be 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. And there's no excuse for this team to put up 3 points in the mediocre points that they did against the worst pass defense in the NFL. That is what the Titans were coming into this game. The worst pass defense in the NFL. The other thing, too, as well, I talked about it on this show going in. I said that Jeffrey Simmons and Danico Autry were the guys that were going to get sacks for them. If you looked at the season's numbers, those guys were the guys that were doing it. They completely wrecked this game. They basically made it so that they pushed the pocket back so Joe Burrow could not step up in the pocket and that he was a statue the entire game. And it worked. Jeffrey Simmons came out with the keys to the game. Make sure you get pressure on Burrow. Make sure you know where Jamar Chase is. It's pretty much that simple because Zach Taylor is not going to run the football. That is just what it comes down to. So I'm not going to put this all on Zach Taylor. You know, the guys have to play better, but Joe Mixon for 3 or 4 games now has been good, and they are just not giving him the ball. It does not make sense. Even when Joe Burrow came back off of the knee injury in 2021, they were running the ball with Joe Mixon, trying to keep Joe Burrow from throwing so much. I just don't understand why it hasn't happened with this, but there's no excuses. This team has been bad on both sides of the ball. They were bad on the offensive side. They were bad on the defensive side. They were bad on the coaching side. There's no excuse for that. A lot of people are talking about, oh, we were 2-3, or we were 2-3 at this point last year, or we were 1-3. Last year, Joe Burrow was 100% healthy, dog. He's not healthy right now, and they haven't proven that they've been able to call an offense that's able to compensate for him with the injury. And if they don't do it this Sunday, they're running out of time. A lot of people are saying, oh, Joe's going to be fine within, the next 6 weeks. If he can get by these next 2 games, get into the bye week without re-aggravating the injury, he's going to be back to 100%. Well, by then, if you're sitting at 1-5, the season is over. The season's over if you're sitting at 1-5. So this staff has to figure it out. They've got to play better. The defense has got to play better. But the offense has to at least stay on the field and get field goals. You cannot – they've only scored 1 – I don't even think they've scored a touchdown in the first half this whole season. Like, it's insane at this point. They cannot play like that. You got to get field goals. You got to give the defense something. So shout out to the Titans. I was clearly wrong about them. I thought that this was a team that was reeling. I honestly still don't think that they're that good. I'm going to keep it a buck. But they definitely earned that win. They outcoached us. They outplayed us. But, the Bengals are going to have to get it together. This staff is going to have to get it together because you can't fire Zach Taylor because he's the play caller. I feel like I have this conversation every single year with you guys, but nothing is going to change from that standpoint until they figure it out. So we just have to hope that they figure it out.
Yeah, this is one thing I did mention last week, or when you guys played the Ravens. I said, hey, you guys look better when you were running the ball, right? And that opened it up a little bit. Saying that, Q, you watch this game, you watch the offense again being, and I think Ace has a good point that the defense might be gassed as the game is going forward. What do you thought about this performance?
Well, Ace once put it Ace once put it great one time when we were talking about the Andy Dalton offense in the early days of this show. It's not that the offense is starting slow, brother. It ain't starting. Right. How many false starts have we had with this offense? Not like false start penalties, but false starts with this offense where it's like, here comes Joe. Oh, they got their rhythm back. They got their groove back. You saw that they started to look like the offense, and we know it. And it was just one drive. Right. I think we need to not ever say that again unless we see like a half of football that looks like the old Cincinnati Bengals. Right. And we've been we've been waiting for it for so long. Every time they give us a drive, we're like, oh, they're back. Yeah, no, they just had a good drive and then they go back to doing the same stuff. It looks like older Big Ben, like the stuff where I think the calf injury hurts Joe Burrow the most is he can do everything at like a good amount in one direction, but he can't change direction. If he needs to escape the pocket, he cannot explode. He's not explosive. And you don't really think of Joe Burrow as an explosive athlete, but he's usually explosive enough to be able to pop out of the pocket, to be able to find somebody late, to be able to stop, step up. He can't do any of that. So it doesn't just hurt him when it comes to him in the pocket because he can't. I mean, it doesn't just hurt him when it comes to him escaping the pocket. It hurts him when he's in the pocket because what he also can't do is maneuver in the pocket. He can't scoot up. He can't scoot back. He can't sidestep. He has no comfortability doing anything but moving up and down on that calf. And he's just a easy target. You're talking about taking a guy from being a 3-dimensional, sometimes 4-dimensional target in the backfield to making him a 2-dimensional target. He's so much easier to hit. And in the offensive line, and I don't think it's purely on them. I feel like Zach Taylor leaves the offensive line out to dry a lot, but I don't know what you got to do. Like, if you want to get the ball out quick, you got to send everybody. You can't have a bunch of people blocking, right? So they're just in a tough spot. Like, Joe Burrow's not healthy, and without a healthy Joe Burrow, that offense don't work, and that's the problem, right? You should not have an offense that doesn't work if Joe Burrow isn't out there when you have wide receivers, the quality of the wide receivers that the Bengals have. You should be able to get away with a Jake Browning game if you need to, right? But that's the thing. The offense requires Joe Burrow to be playing at a maximum level in order to get anything close to what you expect out of it. And if you don't, you just get this. This is the Zach Taylor offense. We saw this before he got Joe Burrow. This is what it looks like. And it's unfortunate because, like, I don't think you could just get rid of Zach Taylor, right? You've had too much success with him. The Bengals aren't the type of team to just fire a coach. But, until he's not running the offense, it's going to require Joe Burrow to play 100% every time. And look, that might work out next year. But once Joe Burrow starts hitting 28, 29, 30, and that's when that stuff's really going to matter. So that's the biggest issue there. The other thing is that I think the Titans were much better than people. I think this happened to both AFC North teams that went on the road this week, other than the Ravens, obviously. They played teams that they underestimated. Like, they did not think the Texans were this good. They did not think the Titans were good. Oh, how good can they be? Deshaun just put up 27 on him, and he didn't look that good against us. And they thought that defense was sweet, and they're not. Like, they're much better than those numbers indicate, the Titans defense, especially up front. And I think even in the back end, I think Al-Shazier is a really good defensive player. I think he's been playing very well for them. And I think offensively, look, the Titans aren't good offensively. They had a hot quarter. But Derrick Henry's not cooked. I think we kind of thought, this might be cook watch for Derrick Henry. It's not cook watch time. He's still Derrick Henry. He can still do this to you. So that's really what ended up. And also, it's not cook watch time on DeAndre Hopkins, who had a really good game in this one. So I think that this was a combination of the Bengals might have came in there underestimating this Titans team on the road. And sometimes you go on the road, you get punched in the mouth, and that's what happened. But I think the real problems are on offense. And look, it can change. Joe Burrow can play better, but that should always be in the back of your mind as a Bengals fan. Why does it require that Joe Burrow play at the maximum ability for us to get what should be the expected result from this offense. Because even in the years past, we talked about this Bengals offense being inconsistent from drive to drive. They don't score as often as you would think an offense like this would score. So, I mean, that's the problem, right? Like, you just don't utilize your weapons enough. And since Jamar Chase is a bracket beater, you get away with it. Since Joe Burrow is a spy beater, you get away with it. But you really need those two to be playing at the highest level in order to get anything out of it. And that's just the problem right there. It shouldn't be the case. But that's what the Bengals problem is, and it's not changing anytime soon. So we'll see. That calf injury has to heal up. And look, he's taking a lot of hits, and he's not had a re-aggravation. So I feel like the calf is actually kind of sturdy at this point. It's more about him recovering. But again, he's taking a lot of hits. So you're only one hit away in the NFL. So I think it's a dangerous game the Bengals are playing right now.
For sure. Guru, what do you thought about this game?
I just thought the Titans, Vrabel, well coached, stuck to what his MO was. Like Q said, relied on the running game. And I thought Tannehill had his best game. Tannehill made throws that we haven't seen in the first 3 weeks that would soften up an aggressive defense. I'm still waiting on DJ Reader. Trey Hendrickson, after the Rams game, you would have thought built on that momentum. I thought it was a little spry in terms of, getting to the quarterback, being aggressive with the pass deflections. And I just thought that, like Ace said, the lack of communication in the back end affected their defense, especially with the offense getting 3-0, especially with the offense not getting rhythm early. You see the comments of Jamar Chase talking about, I'm effing always wide open. Well, if you look at the ball, from an all-22 lens, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow doesn't have time to get you the football right now. He can't go through his progressions and get you the football unless it's a screen, unless it's a flare route, unless it's a mesh route, unless it's a quick two-step drop. The 3-step, the 5-step drops that you saw Burrow hit Chase, the intermediate, the deep routes, he just doesn't have time right now. Orlando Brown Jr., I thought he might have had his worst game last week in terms of the run passing game. And I just don't know how the Bengals fix that void. That void right now is tough. When you look at the collective, approach right now, with that 5 trying to get on the same accord. The Bengals, the Super Bowl year, were able to, rotate multiple linemen. Maybe that's the decision this year. I know, the Jonah Williams stands, the Jackson Carman stands, the Cordell Volson stands might not agree with that. But right now, you have no rhythm to establish the run, to give Joe Burrow time in terms of the line. And then one more thing, Lou. I want Lou to, your defensive coordinator, I want him to adapt. And when I say adapt, I want him to show me the strength of his defense that's not on the back end. Show me the stunts. Get creative with a DJ Reader, with a Miles Murphy, with a Hendrickson, with a Hubbard. Show me that those guys can rush from the interior. I'm watching defensive coordinators in the new league, fellas. They're superior pass rushers, no matter if they're a 5 or a 1 tech. They're getting advantageous matchups to deploy their skill sets. And when you're a pass rush, when you're a team like the Bengals right now that needs momentum, you might need to, reinvent the wheel. Instead of sending the Mike Hildens, do you send a Nick Scott? Do you send a Jermaine Pratt? You need more right now in the Baltimore Ravens. They can't rush for 4. They send 6. So I'm looking at Lou to adapt currently to maybe his personnel and the inconsistencies right now with his defense early in the season.
Okay, we have a couple of super chats here. Before we go to the marquee matchup, Ace, I know you have a life, but I need to hear from you while you're mad on Sunday night. Not Tuesday night. Got me watching Q and Ish.
Hey, man, I gotta stretch pretty thin, brother. I'm gonna try to see if we can work on trying to get some recaps after the game, but as the schedule is set up right now, man,
it's hard.
It's pretty full.
I used to be commenting during the game, but my daughter now has games at 1, so I just literally get out of Twitter because I don't want no spoiler, and I go home straight and I just watch it. And I tell my kids, okay, I watch your game now. I need some time. right? So yeah, I get it. Life. Perhaps the Bengals have peaked, overhyped.
That's a weird way to spell peaked.
Whoever so 513 Art Dog says whoever wins time of possession gonna win the game.
Guess the Bengals. Yep, pretty much. That's what you think because the
Okay.
offense is going to punt it back to you, and as long as you hold on to that ball.
So with that being said, let's talk about Browns Ravens. And look, this was a matchup that once I knew Watson wasn't gonna play, right? You know, you play DTR. I know Browns fans told me, well, DTR, right, because of preseason, and DTR is not a bad quarterback. I'm not. He showed me some stuff that I was like, okay, this is good, and then he showed me some bad stuff. He's a 5th-round rookie, right? So for the people that are just killing DTR, he's a 5th-round rookie. We saw how a guy like Stroud performed against the Ravens. He had a hard time. He's the 2nd overall pick. He was a 5th-round rookie that did not have
And
a
he
lot
had
of
the whole camp to be prepared for week 1.
Yeah, I was gonna say he did not have all week as first reps and all that, right? Saying that too, the one weird thing too that I thought DTR was gonna be used more like running, more I was expecting them to help him by utilizing his legs a little bit more and maybe holding some of the blitzes in the maybe like that banging the blitz down because what you saw, or not the blitz, the box are a little bit loaded because what you saw a lot what the Ravens were doing. Rogan was playing more on the secondary, right? They were having more guys in there, and DTR I think he had 2 scrambles, I think.
Yeah, the thing with that is DTR is not the athlete everybody thinks he is. Like he plays more like Brock Purdy than he plays like, any like a Tyler Huntley. He's not that. He's a good athlete. He's a scrambling quarterback. Mm-hmm. He's not anybody you want to send on a direct run. He's not that big too. He's only 6'1", about 200. Everybody's 200 in NFL. He's like 180. Yeah, he's 180 though. But he's not the biggest dude. He's not the fastest guy. And I don't think direct runs would have did anything but got him hit harder. Like, to be honest with you, honestly, if you want to do direct runs, maybe you throw in some PJ Walker. He's a more capable runner at this level. But yeah, what happened was that DTR, at least offensively, they had a game plan in place. They felt like DTR could run it, but DTR realized really quickly there's a difference between windows that you can fit in the preseason and in the Pac-12 than in the NFL, right? The 2 slants that he threw directly at Roquan, well, not directly, but in Roquan's window, right? In the NFL, that's not open. In college football, that's open. And in the preseason, you could fit that window, right? And there were many times where he tried to fit a window that he just didn't have the arm strength for. And I got yelled at during the preseason when I pointed this out. I was like, hey, DTR doesn't have great arm strength. What do you mean? Look at the zip that he doesn't have great arm strength. We saw it on full display. How many flea flicker deep balls that he threw that went like 20 yards? There was the one pass interference that was like a big play for the Browns offense in this game on Amari Cooper, where DTR threw that thing and it didn't even make it to Cooper. Like, I was like, how?
It was a savvy play by Cooper because that was not catchable. Cooper did what Odell did a couple of weeks ago. He knew to come back for that PI.
Yeah, it was just, we saw a dude who was clearly not ready to play. And I know that some people are like, well, Stefanski set him up to fail and this and that. I don't know how you set him up to succeed in this. Like, maybe you throw the ball and give him some screens, but I'm critical of Roquan. I'm not throw screens at Roquan critical of Roquan Smith. I'm not run the ball 40 times at Roquan critical of Roquan Smith. So if I have a lower opinion than average of him, and I don't even want to do that, nobody's going to do that, especially when it's Jerome Ford that you're running right into Roquan Smith. So I don't think that would have helped. I mean, the truth of the matter is that your wide receivers are not game changers. You have good wide receivers and Cooper. Like, you have a good one in Coop, but Coop's not anybody that you worry about when it comes to the game plan. And when you have that, you don't have any game changers in the backfield, and the Ravens can just play you straight up, and your offensive line is struggling. you're going to get the result that you got on offense. And that kind of led into everything with this game. I thought the defense came out in this game real strong. I think they forced 3 or 4 3-and-outs to start this game on the Baltimore Ravens. And then the fourth possession was a turnover that they didn't force it. Lamar forced it, but they got on top of it. So you had 3 3-and-outs to start the game and a turnover, but you couldn't get more than 3 points out of all of that. And it's a miracle they got the 3, because the one drive they got the 3, they lost 12 yards. So the offense was just anemic, and eventually that's going to lead into a poor defensive performance. And what do I always say? When your team has no hope on the offensive side, what are you going to see a lot more of? Missed tackles. And what do we see a ton of in this game from the Browns? Missed tackles. So they just kind of were gassed out, worn out. Ravens took advantage, executed really well. They did some nice stuff with Lamar Jackson to kind of force the defense to bite. And since the defense feels like they got to make a game-changing play, they're going to be way over aggressive. So they got taken advantage of. And I think that, what's his name? The offensive coordinator. I can't believe I'm blanking. Todd Monken did a good job taking advantage of that. The Ravens got 2 short fields, scored on both of them touchdowns, which, hey, other teams who have gotten short fields with this Browns defense had not been that successful, right? The Titans did not score a touchdown. The Steelers did not score a touchdown with the short field. So congrats to them. They were able to execute at a higher level than the other teams, but the defense was kind of dealt a bad hand in this one. I don't think that was their best showing. I don't think that was really representative of what they will be. It'll be interesting to see when these two teams play again. Hopefully Deshaun's healthy. We get a better read of this, but the Ravens have a really good team. They played really well. The Browns, look, man, if it wasn't clear before, and it's not clear now, I don't know what to tell you, but the season rests on the shoulders of Deshaun Watson. If you think he's going to be good, this team will be fine. They'll be an 11-win team, and they'll make the playoffs, and they'll be a pretty good team with a really good defense. If Deshaun Watson is what he was in, Pittsburgh, this team's going to win 7 games. That's what the season's on. That's what the offense is on. They need to be able to create some RPOs with Deshaun Watson to create some stress on the defense. They need to be able to develop some kind of gun run. They don't have any run out of the gun. It's kind of bad. It's embarrassing at this point. They have nothing to stress defenses when Deshaun's not out there. And even if Deshaun's out there, you still don't have much to stress these defenses. It's going to make his job harder. So they need to find ways to create pressure on defenses now that Nick Chubb's not in there. And I don't know why they haven't tried these things at this point, but also you've just had inconsistent play at the quarterback position, and now he doesn't play because of a shoulder injury. It's a goofy mess, and they better get it fixed during the bye week, because this season could go one or two ways after this. You can continue to do this goofiness and have this will they, won't they with Deshaun, and, maybe make adjustments here and everybody gets fired and we have to rebuild again in the offseason, or you can fix some things, play well against the 49ers, win some games down the stretch, and become the good team that you should probably be, given what's been on this roster for years. But that's what it was. I think DTR, he just wasn't ready for prime time. It looked like the moment was way too big for him. At moments, he was literally just guessing. Like that last quarter, my man's was literally just guessing at that point. He was getting to that top of the drop and knew somebody was coming. I just got to throw it. It was a bad day for him. And the Ravens took advantage like a good team should. But, I look forward to the next battle between these two teams. Hopefully both teams are more healthy than they were coming into this contest, so we can get a good read on this. And hell, maybe we have a tiebreak in the playoffs.
Maybe. So this is what I will say about this game. I don't want to concentrate on my defense. I think my defense played great. All three of these 4 teams, sorry, Guru, because I don't think right now how Pickett is playing, it does move the needle that much. But 3 of these 4 teams, if their starting quarterback misses the game or gets injured or whatever you want to put, they're going to look like a different offense, right? It's just Lamar's not there. That Ravens offense not the same. Burrow right now hurt. Bengals defense doesn't look the same. And Watson didn't play. That offense does not look the same. I just want to concentrate on the other side, because I think, look, when I started watching this game and I saw the first 4 drives, 3 3-and-outs, the one drive that we scored was on the fumble or interception.
It was
a 10-yard, a 10-yard run by Lamar, touchdown, right? And then Lamar, they were moving the ball, but Lamar and I think it was Justice Hill, they had the bad exchange, and that was a fumble, and that's Cleveland recovered the ball, and that's where they scored 3 point. By the way, Q, Elijah Moore in that play that they lost, I don't know, like 15 yards. He needs to
Oh, the
make
moment
that.
he
Yeah, he
did
kept
get
running
to.
backwards. He kept
He
running
had a
backwards.
hole. Like he
Yeah.
had a hole. He didn't want to take it too. That's the frustrating thing, because you could argue about these play calls, but it's like I'm just seeing terrible execution. I don't know why. Like at some point, either it's because we've seen this for 3 years. Whenever they send anybody on the end around, you're like, why aren't they reading their keys? And it's like, are the keys bad? Like, what's going on here? Because like this many people can't be bad at taking end arounds. But yeah, he had a hole right there.
Yeah.
You see butt to butt, like exactly what you want to see. And instead of taking the 7, he tries to hit a home run and go around. It's like, oh God. Like, and then he keeps the play alive for no reason. Like, it was that kind of day. Everybody was pressing to make a big play. And when you're pressing to make a big play and it doesn't go your way, you're going to make a lot of big mistakes and play into their hands.
That was early in the game, but again, not to concentrate on the offense of the Browns, because then the Ravens start clicking. I believe they had a 92-yard drive and a 76-yard drive. Lamar is leading the league in completion percentage, and not because he's throwing short throws, right? There was a play that impressed me a lot. There was second and 23 or 25, something like that. And the pocket collapsed. He scrambles to the right, and he had some time, or enough time. Zay Flowers, he hits Zay over there on the corner. I think it was like a 40-yard at least. It was a great throw. Great, like one thing that has been surprising for me about Lamar, his accuracy has taken another step, right? That was my criticism about Lamar. Like, hey, yes, he's super dynamic, but accuracy, especially on 15-plus yarders, as the year has gone by, he's been more accurate. Lamar had a great game, great overall game. We're talking about 19 attempts, so not super high, 15 completions, $186, 2 touchdowns. Now, what the Ravens did do is, and I don't know if you noticed this, Q, as soon as we lost the right tackle, so we obviously Stanley didn't play. As soon as we lost the right tackle, Lamar was getting eaten alive. And for my Ravens fans that don't want to give credit to Myles Garrett, there's a couple of things can be true. Myles Garrett, they had a strong game. I actually believe Myles Garrett had one of the best games that he has had against the Ravens. I felt like he was jumping early in a lot of plays, and then he got called back, not back to back, but offside twice, and then he stopped it. But it almost seemed like he was trying to jump in time that snapped, and in my opinion, he was jumping early, but again, only twice got called. But offensive line, when the right tackle was there, we couldn't run. Lamar was getting eaten. Although that was, I think after that was when he got that 20 and 19 or 20 and a second and 20 something. He did find Mark Andrews for that touchdown. Mark Andrews had a great game. He had his best game of the year. Q said before or on the preview game, whoever the tight end has the better game will win the game. Mark Andrews had the better game, so shout out Q, you called that correctly. But Lamar, he was poised in the pocket. He was, with all the pressure, he was still moving himself around the pocket, finding the guy. And I think after week 3, or in week 3, they started doing design runs with Lamar, because in the first couple of weeks, maybe the second or third, they weren't doing design runs. And I think what they're doing that enough, so they basically tell the defense, oh, if you're gonna pull back too much, we're gonna run at you with Lamar. And that makes the defense say, like, okay, Lamar's running, let me bring down, and then Lamar then is hitting the targets over the top. The play on Mark Andrews in the first touchdown, because both touchdown passes was on Lamar, or was for Andrews. That second one, or that first one that he mossed Ward, I actually thought that he threw it just a little bit late. When he threw, I was like, oh, I thought that there was a possibility of a pick, but he threw it just where Mark Andrews was gonna get it, because as Hugh said, Ward high point that ball, or tried to high point the ball. He couldn't get to it.
Mm-hmm.
They should have made the play on Andrews, but they thought they could get it. And if you go watch that play, Ward is just there, but it was just 2 inches too short, and Mark Andrews snatched that ball for the touchdown. And the other play it was Lamar. He scrambled around. He made a bunch of people miss on the other side, behind the line of scrimmage. He dumps it to Mark Andrews. And Mark Andrews does the rest, and he gets the touchdown. I thought Lamar was great. I actually thought Gus Edwards was running well until the right tackle got hurt. And again, after that, we couldn't move the ball a lot, although we did score one touchdown. And I think wisely, they benched Lamar early in the fourth because there was pressure getting to him quickly with both tackles not being there. The one guy that I was surprised that I didn't see much from him was Zadarius Smith. I know he got hurt. He came back, but I thought Miles was wrecking the O-line or making a lot of pressures on that side or wherever he was, because he was lining up in the middle as well. But the rest of the D-line wasn't as effective in getting penetration as Miles was. So that was surprising for me. Overall, I think, look, we did move the ball well between the second quarter and the third quarter. First quarter, I know we scored that one touchdown, but other than that, it was a struggle at the beginning. Adjustments were made. The Ravens then were moving the ball consistently, and then the fourth quarter or mid-third to fourth, they started to struggle again and again. I think when Moses went out, I think that's what you saw. Again, the defense for us played magnificent. It was a hell of a game plan. You had a rookie there, and you knew how to frustrate a rookie, confuse the rookie, and that's what you want to do. So kudos to the defense. The defense came, ball out, and did what they had to do. But the offense, going against number one ranked defense, they played well. They moved the ball well. They executed well. Lamar was impressive. Look, one of the few games that I can look back, and other than the bad exchange, I had nothing else to say from the Ravens on the bad side. Because I usually am very critical for my Ravens, but this game, other than that bad exchange, the coaching staff, everything worked. Everything was there. It was a hell of a win by the Ravens. We have played 2 road games in the AFC North, going through a third next week, and pending anything crazy, if the Ravens win, that's 3-0 on the road in the AFC North. Kudos to the Ravens going to the Browns, leashing the dogs, taking that W. Ace, what do you thought about this game?
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens are the most consistent team in the division thus far. I mean, it's a shame because if we would have saw Watson, who knows how that would have played out. But I think it's pretty fair to say as of September, they've coming out of September and into October, thus far, they were the most consistent team out of the AFC North during the previous month. Lamar Jackson had a great game. You talk about, it's kind of crazy that this is his first game with having 2 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns. But a great game by Lamar Jackson. Browns fans that were coming at Deshaun Watson saying, let's put DTR in, you got your wish. That is not clearly not the answer. So, sucks for them to not have Deshaun in that game. But I don't think that that's, representative of what the Browns are. That's a tough situation to be in. As Q is saying, to have a guy practicing all week and to think that that's the game plan and to take a guy out like that as the quarterback and switch it, that's just a tough situation to be in, because I said the same about Travis Kelce going against the Lions in the opener with him, basically being out. I think it was that Tuesday and they had to play a game on Thursday. That really affected the Chiefs' game plan in their offense, let alone that happening with a quarterback. And then if you're a quarterback, the last person that you want to be a rookie quarterback playing against, especially a 5th-round rookie, is the Baltimore Ravens with their defense. That's just not the defense to really play around with. But the Ravens were dominant on defense, and once they got things rolling on offense, they've done it. I think that they've kind of answered a lot of the questions where you talk about them bringing in that new offense, where they're going to be rusty. Didn't seem like there was much of an adjustment period for them, especially after not playing the starters really in the preseason. So they've also been able to manage through the injuries. So I think that this was a good win for the Ravens. Obviously, it's in a division where it matters. Just wish we would have been able to see, Watson in there. But they get to 3-1, and there's not really much bad you can really say about the Ravens right now. We'll see where things go moving forward. But as it stands now, impressive win for them. And you have to tip your cap to them.
Guru.
Yeah, man. Ravens probably the best overall performance of their season in terms of offense. I think the lack of Cleveland being able to score and move the football, time of possession, hurt that defense. You look at the box score. You look at how many times Lamar Jackson was able to convert third downs. You look at his red zone efficiency. Baltimore Ravens under Todd Monken have the number one red zone offense. That was reflected in a tough divisional road game with the laundry list of injuries that they had. And one thing that I was very proud of in terms of just a football savant was the development of Cal Hamilton. It looks like this guy is understanding what Mike McDonald asks of him and his requirements of a star position and that what that role requires. Most of all, what he's able to do for guys in that nickel position. Brandon Stevens, Arthur Millette, previous years, you had Averett, a little bit of Marcus Peters, feisty guys. He's a 6'2", 6'3" nickel that's being instinctive, allowing his IQ to make up for his athleticism. And it's been a really good fit for year two under Mike McDonald. I think the Cleveland Browns, you want to get Deshaun Watson healthy, but you also want to try to get Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt, some type of continuity. Looked like those guys couldn't get any rhythm. Then on the defensive side, besides Myles Garrett, you need guys in the interior like Maurice Hurst, Double O. You need those guys to be able to create pressure, but most of all, disrupt the run game. And then I saw Mark Andrews. This was the best game of Mark Andrews' season. Your linebackers, your safeties, Delpit, who are box safeties, they couldn't hold up. And if Mark Andrews is going to give the Baltimore Ravens 60 to 70 yards a week, when Odell Beckham come back, those guys only really have to get 50 yards. If you look at the totality of the offense, what they want to do for Lamar Jackson's legs. So I'm looking at the Baltimore Ravens. I'm seeing balance. I'm seeing that young guys are establishing roles, and I'm looking at a team that has a lot of stuff favoring them as they build toward this week.
Yep, Ravens look coming from a disappointing performance against the Colts. Obviously, they took care of their business. Okay, we have a couple super chats here. Ace, since you stopped the live stream on Sundays, we've been playing horrible. Your fault.
It's your fault.
This Sunday, I had to bust moves. I still was watching the game from the phone, but I had to take my son to get a haircut. I had to, take him to his practice as well. So, all right, guys, I can't do the live streams on Sundays anymore, man.
Damn. Start Josh Dobbs, baby. Let's go. It's official.
Hugh, I know you never imagined Chubb and Deshaun Watson not playing. Welcome to the show. SG Sonny, what's up? What's up, man?
Tough. I mean, those were the two most important pieces to the offense coming into the season, and to not have them for a game, I mean, the results speak for themselves. I mean, this was a pretty pathetic, I know the Browns scored 3 points, but they might as well have gotten shut out. It wasn't, they didn't earn those 3 that they got.
I mean, the defense, it wasn't even forced.
It wasn't forced. It was a fumble. Not to say that the defense wasn't playing well at that point in the game. They were, but it wasn't. The offense deserved to be shut out because it was just that poor of an effort. And I don't even know, usually I'm upset when the offense plays that bad because there's things you could do, but how am I going to be upset at DTR for looking like what he is? You know what I mean? Of course he missed things. Of course things were there and he didn't see it. The game was moving so fast to him. I bet he remembers any of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, so before we go, the poll, what team should panic? Bengals took it with 61%, way too early, had 18%, Steelers 14, and Browns 5, 411 votes for that. Take it for whatever it's worth. Anyway, guys, thank you for coming. Make sure you hit the subscribe, and comment out there. We'll be back here Friday previewing next week, which is going to be a short show. We have one AFC matchup, and we had the Bengals playing the Cardinals and one team on a bye, but still it should be a fun one. Take care. We'll see you next time. Peace out.